Hi, I'm Danny Gill, and welcome to this DVD in which we'll be learning 5 Children of Bodom tracks. Children of Bodom are a heavy metal band from Finland which feature the amazing guitar talents of Alexi Laiho, who is also the lead vocalist in the band. They've always had a second guitarist as well, so many of their songs feature 2 distinct guitar parts which fit together very nicely. So as we learn these tracks, we can see how these 2 guitar parts complement each other. Another common thread throughout their music is the tuning. They're often tuned down, sometimes to drop C tuning, sometimes down a whole step. So make sure you check out the tuning section of this DVD so that you can play along with the lessons. All right, well, I think that's it for intros. If you're ready to get started, grab your guitar, pick a song. I'll see you for the lessons. It's going to be fun. Now we're going to take a look at Angels Don't Kill. This song has a dropped C tuning. There's a 4-bar keyboard intro, and then the guitar comes in with this phrase. 1, 2. All right, so we're going to start off with a scratch and then a slide. Perhaps the coolest part of the whole song. So I'm just going to take the side of the pick, scratch against the bottom strings, and then slide downwards with the left hand. Then we're going to strike the bottom 2 strings open, and this will be a D5 chord. We're going to hold that for 2 measures, and then we'll strike the chord once again and hold it for a measure and a half, or 6 beats. And then we're going to play this phrase, which is the bottom string open 2 times, followed by a pinch harmonic from the 3rd fret of the bottom string. And then play those 3 notes once again. And if we put all of that together, that's going to be the intro before the main riff of the song comes in. So we're going to start that scratch on beat number 3. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. All right, so now we're into the main riff of the song. There's going to be 2 parts for the main riff. The first guitar goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this main riff, which also reoccurs later in the song as the chorus, is a 4-bar phrase that's going to be repeated 2 times. The first measure goes like this. So I'm going to start by playing the open low E string, sliding into the 5th fret of the A string, followed by 7 on the D, back to 5 on the A, open low E string 2 times, 5th fret of the A string, 8th fret of the D, back to 5 on the A. And that's the first measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the second measure, we're going to start by playing a D5 power chord, bottom 2 strings open, a total of 4 times. And then we're going to play some octaves, starting off with F sharp, 9th fret of the A string, 11th fret of the G string. I'm then going to slide back to the 6th fret on those same 2 strings. So this will be a D sharp octave shape. Now with the octaves, you have to be careful because we only want to hear the A string and the G string. So we have to figure out a way to mute the D string. And I do this just by lightly touching the D string with my first finger. So now we've done the first 2 measures. Let's put that together. We're going to start on beat number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Measure number 3 is the same as measure number 1. And measure number 4 is just slightly different. We're going to start off with that D5 chord played 4 times. Now we're going to play a B octave shape, 2nd fret A string, 4th fret G string, followed by an A flat 5 power chord, which is played by barring on the bottom 2 strings on the 6th fret. So that's an A flat 5 power chord. So here's the 4th measure. And we're going to put these 4 measures together and then play it 2 times. Okay? So here's the first guitar for this main riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so there's also going to be a second guitar playing along with that first guitar that we've just learned. Here's the first measure for the second guitar. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to start off open low E string, slide into the 7th fret of the D string, followed by 7G, 7D, open low E string 2 times, 8D, 7G, 8D, and that's the first measure. So let's start on downbeat of 1 and try playing this together now, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. The second measure starts off by playing that D5 power chord 4 times, so bottom 2 strings open 4 times. Now we'll play a D5 power chord by playing on the 5th fret of the A string, 7th fret of the D string, and strike that once. And then move this back a whole step, or 2 frets, and play a C5 power chord, 3rd fret A along with the 5th fret of the D string. So the second measure would sound like this. The third measure sounds like the first measure. And then in the fourth measure, we're going to play the D5 power chord 4 times, so bottom 2 strings open 4 times. And then to the D5 power chord where the root is on the A string, so 5th fret A string, 7th fret D string, strike that once, followed by an A flat 5 chord, 6th fret on the bottom 2 strings. So the second guitar for this main riff is also a 4-bar phrase which is played 2 times. So why don't we try that together nice and slow. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the verse. There's going to be 2 guitar parts to learn for the verse. We'll start off by learning the first 2 bars for guitar 1. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to start off with a B flat 5 chord, 1st fret A string, 3rd fret D string. Move that shape up 2 frets to play C5. Now strike the bottom low E string 2 times. To the A string now, we're going to hammer on 5, 7, 8, followed by 7 on the A string. 2 hits on the bottom low E string. 3rd fret of the low E string. Try and get a pinched harmonic here. followed by 2 hits on the bottom low E. Now to the D string, we're going to slide from 7 back to 5, 3rd fret A string, strike a C5 power chord, 3rd fret A along with 5 on the D, and after striking that C5 chord, slide back to B flat 5. So that was a lot of numbers, a lot of notes. Let's put that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's take a look at the second 2-bar phrase. We'll pick it up from the B flat 5 chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we play the B flat 5 chord followed by the C5 chord. Same riff we played earlier, 2 hits on the bottom low E string. Hammer on 5, 7, 8 on the A, followed by the 7th fret of the A string. Now we're going to stay on the A string. Here's where it gets a little different. We'll play 5, 7, 8. Jump to the 5th fret of the G string. Descend on the D string now, 8, 7, 5. And that's the second of these 2-bar phrases. The third 2-bar phrase is the same as the first 2-bar phrase, so you should recognize this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the fourth 2-bar phrase sounds like this. So we'll play a B flat 5 chord followed by a C5 chord. Build up on the A5 chord, so we'll have 4 eighth notes, 1 and 2 and. That A5 chord is played with the open A string along with the 2nd fret of the D string. So after playing that 4 times, we'll strike it 1 more time followed by a C5 chord. So let's go back now and put all of that together. So here's the verse for the first guitar. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to learn the second guitar for the verse. Here's the first 2-bar phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very similar to the first guitar, although the ending is just slightly different. So we start off B flat 5 to C5. 2 hits on the bottom low E string, followed by that hammer on 5, 7, 8 on the A, back to 7 on the A. 2 hits on the open low E, 3rd fret low E string. Try and get that pinched harmonic. And then 2 more hits on the open low E string. And now I'll play a D5 chord, slide back to C5, and then C5, slide back to B flat 5. So that's the only difference between this 2-bar phrase and guitar 1 during that 2-bar phrase. So once again, here it is slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now let's take a look at the second 2-bar phrase. I'll pick it up from that B flat 5 chord, and it goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to play B flat 5 to C5. 2 hits on the bottom low E string. Hammer on the A string, 5, 7, 8, followed by 7 on the A string. 3 hits on the bottom low E string. 4 more notes here, 7 to 5 on the D string, 8 to 7 on the A string. Put that together, goes like this. The third 2-bar phrase is the same as the first 2-bar phrase. And the fourth 2-bar phrase is identical to the final 2-bar phrase of the first guitar. So just to refresh your memory, here's the final 2-bar phrase, picking it up from the B flat chord. All right, let's put those 8 bars together now. So here's guitar 2 during the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Coming out of the first verse, we're going to be into the first interlude section. There's going to be 2 guitars to learn here. Here's guitar number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can look at this as 3 separate 5-note phrases that are going to fit together. So the first 5-note phrase will start 6 to 8 on the B string, 5 to 6 on the B string, followed by 7 on the G string. So we're ending on our root note D. This is coming from the D minor scale. So far we've done this. Now we're going to repeat those 5 notes. The next phrase starts off on the 7th fret of the G string, followed by 6 to 5 on the B, 5 on the G, 7 on the D. And if we put that together and play it 2 times, that gives us the first guitar part during this interlude. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now repeat it. And again. So that was the high harmony. There's going to be a lower harmony, which sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to start off on the D string, 12 to 14, 10, 12, 8. So there's our first phrase. The next phrase goes like this. So that's 8D, 10G, 10D, 12G, followed by 10 on the A string. And the next phrase will go like this. 10A, 12D, shift positions, 12A, 14D, followed by 15-12 on the A string. Now let's put all of that together and play it 2 times. So this will be the lower harmony. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the chorus. The chorus is very, very similar to the main riff that we learned earlier in the song. The exception is going to be there's a slight rhythmic variation on measures 6 and 8. But let's play through the first half of the chorus. This is going to be identical to the main riff we learned earlier, and that goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first 4 measures. The 5th measure is identical to the first measure. Now here's where the rhythmic variation comes in. So measure number 6 will sound like this. So we're going to do this rhythm on the open low E string. We'll strike that once and twice. So that's 3 notes, and we'll play those 3 notes 2 times. Followed by our octave shapes, F sharp to D sharp. So here are measures 5 and 6 together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here are the final 2 measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. So measure 7 is the same as measure number 1. But here we're going to strike that open low E string 4 times, and again 4 times, before playing that octave shape with the B to the A flat 5 chord. So if we put all of that together, here is the chorus guitar number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now let's apply those same rhythmic variations to guitar number 2. So here's guitar number 2 during the chorus. Try to play along with me here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the first solo. We'll learn this in small phrases and then piece it all together at the end. So here's the first small piece of the solo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So this solo starts off by outlining a D minor arpeggio. We'll play on the 14th fret of the G, followed by 15 on the B, 13 on the high E string. 17 on the high E, 15 on the high E, bend up a whole step and release the bend. Pull off 17 to 13 on the high E, followed by 15 on the B. So far we've done this. Now 15 on the high E, bend up a half step, release the bend, pulling off to the 13th fret of the high E. Now we're going to play 15 on the B string. And here it gets a little tricky. What we're going to do is we're going to hammer on with the right hand to the 20th fret of the high E string. After we do that hammer on, we're going to bend up a step and a half and then release that bend from the 17th fret of the high E string. So here's what we've done so far. Now we're going to bend up a whole step from the 18th fret of the B string, and we'll release the bend and then repeat the bend and release. And now once again bend up a whole step from the 18th fret of the B string, this time using the tremolo bar to get some vibrato. Okay, and that's our first phrase. So let's go back now and piece that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Here's the next phrase of the solo. Starting off on the high E string, we'll pull off 17, 15, 13. Now pull off 15 to 13 on the B string, followed by 14 on the G string. So far we've done this. Now back to 15 on the B. So far we've done this. Now repeat the first 6 notes once again. 17, pull off 15, pull off to 13 on the high E. 15, pull off to 13 on the B, followed by 14 on the G. So here's what we've done so far. Now we're going to shift positions, play the 10th fret of the G string 2 times, 12 on the G string, 10 on the B, 2 times on the 12th fret of the G string, followed by 10 to 9 on the G string. Now move back to the 10th fret of the G string, strike that 2 times, 12th fret of the G string, strike 12 once again, bending up a whole step and then releasing that bend. Strike 12 once again, followed by 10 to 9. So here's the phrase that we've just gone over. And here's the next phrase. This phrase starts off on the 12th fret of the D string, followed by a double stop where we're going to play on the 10th fret of the G string, 10th fret of the B string. Back to the 12th fret of the D string, play that double stop once again, 10th fret on the G string, 10th fret on the B string, followed by the 12th fret of the D string 2 times. So far we've done this. Now to the 13th fret of the B string, we'll bend up a whole step, release the bend, pulling off to the 10th fret of the B string. followed by 12 to 10 on the G string. Now to the high E string, bend up a whole step from the 13th fret, release the bend, pull off to the 10th fret of the high E string. Now to the 17th fret of the high E string, we're going to bend up a step and a half, and we're going to have a slow bend here. And this part of the solo ends with a whole step bend from the 20th fret of the high E string. After we do that bend, we'll simply slide off of the string. So here's the phrase that we've just learned once again. And now the solo is going to end with some fast shredding, which goes like this. So we're going to slide into the 20th fret of the high E string. Following this, we'll play 17, 15, and repeat those three notes, 20, 17, 15. 18, 17 on the B, back to 15 on the high E. 18, 17, 15 B. So far we've done this. Now we're going to repeat the first 6 notes, 20, 17, 15 on the high E, play those 3 notes 2 times, followed by 18, 17, 15 on the B string, and repeat those 3 notes, 18, 17, 15. So far from the beginning, we've done this. Now we're going to go back to our first phrase, 20, 17, 15 on the high E string, play those 3 notes 2 times, 18, 17 on the B, followed by 15 high E, 18, 17, 15 B. So that phrase. Now to the B string, 18, 17, 15, play those 3 notes 2 times, 17, 15 on the G. Next 3 notes, 17, 15, 14 on the G, 17 D, and now we're going to end 15, 14 D, 17, 15, 13 on the A string. So here's those last 5 notes. All right, so now let's try playing solo number 1 from the beginning. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now let's take a look at the second interlude section. It starts off with this phrase. Here we're in the key of D minor. We're going to play the note D, 3rd fret of the B string, 3 times, followed by 2 times on the 6th fret of the high E string, 2 times on the 3rd fret, 2 times on the 5th fret, to the B string 2 times on the 6th fret, high E string 2 times on the 3rd fret, to the B string 2 times on the 5th fret. So far, we've done this. And we're going to play that 3 times. After playing that 3 times, we're then going to play this phrase. 3 hits on the 3rd fret of the B string, 2 times on the 6th fret of the high E string, 3rd fret of the high E, 6th fret, slide to the 8th fret, pull off to the 5th fret, followed by 6B, 5G, and that outlines an F major arpeggio there. And now we're going to outline a C major arpeggio. We're going to slide into the 9th fret of the G string, followed by 8B, 8 high E, 12 high E. So that C major arpeggio would look like this. So here's the phrase that we've just learned. Now we're going to repeat the first phrase once again, but this time we're going to play the 3rd fret of the B string, which is the note D, and we're going to descend with the tremolo bar after striking that note. And if we put that all together, that'll be the first part from this second interlude section. So let's try that together now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to switch from the key of D minor to the key of G flat major, and here's the next phrase. So we're going to start off 4th fret of the B string, now to the high E string, 7, 4, 6, B string 7, high E string 4, 7, 6, 4 on the B string. So far we've done this. Now to the high E string, 7, 4, 7. And now we're going to slide up on the high E string to the 9th fret and then pull off to the 6th fret. 7 on the B string followed by 6 on the G string. So we're outlining a G flat major arpeggio right there. And now we're going to outline a D flat major arpeggio. We're going to slide into the 10th fret of the G string, followed by 9B, 9 on the high E, 13 on the high E. And that whole phrase we're going to play 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, coming out of this part of the interlude, we're going to end with 2 notes. 10th fret of the low E string, followed by the 7th fret of the low E string. So if we put all that in context, here's the second half of this interlude section. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, coming out of that interlude section, there's going to be another guitar solo, this time played along with the keyboards. There's going to be a harmony between the 2 instruments. The first phrase of this solo goes like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll start off 19 on the G string, 17, 18 on the B, 20 on the high E, followed by 18, 17, 18 on the B string. So far we've done this. Now we're going to go back to the 19th fret of the G string, followed by 17, 18 on the B string. Now I'm going to bend up from the 18th fret of the B string up a whole step, back down, back up, followed by 18 to 17 on the B string. Finally landing 19 on the G string. And that gives us the first phrase of this keyboard and guitar solo. Here's the next phrase. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so here we're going to be descending a D minor scale, starting from the 22nd fret of the B string, followed by 19 on the G string. Back to the B string, slide 22 to 20, followed by 17 on the G string. To the B string, slide from 20 to 18, grab 15 on the G string. Back to the B string, slide 18, back to 17, grab 14 on the G. To the B string, 17, slide back to 15, and then grab 12 on the G string. Now slide 15 back to 13 on the B string. So far we've done this. Now back to the 15th fret, pull off to the 13th fret, hammer onto the 15th fret on the B string, followed by 13 to 15 on the high E string, and then back 15, pull off 13, hammer onto 15 on the B, followed by 12, 13, pull off to 12 on the high E string. A lot of notes. Here's that phrase in context. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, at this point, we're going to repeat the first phrase, but whereas the first phrase ended on the 19th fret of the G string, this phrase will end on the 8th fret of the high E string. So it goes like this. All right, our next phrase goes like this. Now you should recognize that. That's the same as the first phrase, but the final note was a little bit different. The final note this time around was a slide into the 8th fret on the high E string. So let's go through those notes one more time just to make sure you got that. 19th fret of the G string, 17, 18 B, 20 on the high E, 18, 17, 18 B, 19 G, 17, 18 on the B. Now bend up a whole step from the 18th fret of the B string, release the bend, bend back up, and then strike 18 to 17 on the B string. And now we're going to slide into the 8th fret of the high E string. Our next phrase will use 16th note triplets. That's where we have 6 notes for every 1 beat, and the phrase goes like this. High E string, 10 to 8, play those 2 notes 2 times, followed by 10 to 8 on the B string. Move up the neck, 13 to 10 on the high E string 2 times, followed by 13 to 10 on the B string. Continue upwards on the neck, 15 to 13 on the high E string 2 times, followed by 15 to 13 on the B string. This is all right out of the D minor pentatonic scale. Now we're going to play 17 to 15 on the high E string 2 times, followed by 18 to 15 on the B string. One, two, 3, 4. Now it gets even crazier, even faster. Now we're going to have some 30-second notes. That's where you play 8 notes for every 1 beat. And here's the final phrase of the keyboard and guitar solo. So this starts off 18, 17, 15 on the high E string. Play those 3 notes 2 times, followed by 18, 17 on the B string. So far we've done this. Now 15 on the high E, 18, 17, 15 on the B string. Play those 3 notes 2 times, followed by 17 on the G string. So far we've done this. Now I'm going to strike 17 on the G string, pull off to 15, 17D, 15G, 17, pull off to 15 on the D, 17 on the A string, back to 15 on the D string, those 8 notes together, and the solo ends with this phrase. So 17, pull off to 15 on the D string, 17 on the A, 15 on the G string, 17, pull off to 15 on the D, 17, pull off to 15 on the A, and then 17 on the D string. So those 30-second notes together sound like this. All right, well that's a lot of notes. Why don't we try putting it all together? So here is the guitar and keyboard solo. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so there's the keyboard and guitar solo for Angels Don't Kill, and with that, you've now learned all of the parts for that song. So have some fun with that one. All right, so now we're going to take a look at 6 Pounder. This song has the drop C tuning and starts off with the main riff, which goes like this. 1, 2, 3. So after striking the open low E string and sliding downwards from roughly the 15th fret, we're then going to be into the main riff. We're going to play on the bottom 2 strings, at least for a while, until I say otherwise. Let's stay on the bottom 2 strings, starting off by playing a D5 power chord, so the bottom 2 strings played open. 6, slide back to 5, followed by 3. Bottom 2 strings open once again. 4, slide to 3, followed by the 1st fret. All of this is on the bottom 2 strings. So that's the first measure. Now we're going to play the bottom 2 strings open 3 times, followed by a harmonic on the 2nd fret of the G string. Now we're going to play the bottom 2 strings open 4 more times. This is a D5 power chord. And so far we've done the first 2 measures, and let's put those together. The 3rd measure starts off with the bottom 2 strings open, 6, slide back to 5, followed by 3. Bottom 2 strings open. 4, slide back to 3, followed by 1. Now strike the bottom 2 strings open 2 times. 2nd fret, slide up to the 3rd fret. Bottom 2 strings open 2 times. Now finally, we're going to move away from the bottom 2 strings, and we're going to play a C5 power chord, 3rd fret A string, 5th fret D string, and then slide back 1 fret to a B5 power chord. And that'll give us the first half of this main riff. So here's what we've done so far. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to repeat these 4 bars, but there's going to be a slight variation on the second of those 4 bars. So the first bar is the same on the second round. Second bar is slightly different. We start off with that D5 power chord 3 times, so that's the bottom 2 strings played open 3 times. Now we're going to bend up from the 3rd fret of the low E string and try and grab a pinched harmonic. So to get that pinched harmonic effect, what you want to do is you want to strike the string with the side of the pick as well as the side of the thumb at the same time. After using that pinched harmonic idea, we're then going to play the bottom 2 strings open 3 times, and that'll give us the second measure on the repeat. So once again, it sounds like this. So let's put that in context. Here's the second 4 bars. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then after playing those 8 bars, we're simply going to strike the bottom 2 strings open and just sustain that for 1 measure. And then we're going to scratch with the side of the pick. And that'll take us into the next section. So let's review now all 8 bars of this main riff. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. The second part of the intro goes like this. So we're going to start off with a phrase where we play 4 times on the 2nd fret of the low E string. Then we'll play that same note 5 times. And we'll play that phrase a total of 6 times altogether. So from the beginning of this section, here's what we've done. Now we'll strike that note 6 times, followed by a pinched harmonic from the 1st fret of the low E string. Back to the 2nd fret of the low E string 3 times. And now back to the phrase where we play that note 5 times and do that phrase 3 times. Now play the 2nd fret of the low E followed by the 3rd fret of the A string. And there's a second guitar that will play on the 1st fret of the D string at the same time there. So there's a harmony. Okay, so let's go back and put that rhythm together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's try that together a little faster. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, now we're going to take a look at the verse. There's going to be 2 guitar parts that we're going to learn. The first guitar part is a 4-bar phrase that happens 2 times, and here's one of those 4-bar phrases. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to start with a D5 power chord. That's 5th fret A string, 7th fret on the D string. And then we're going to play 4 times on the open low E string. Move that D5 power chord up 1 fret, play E flat 5, back to D5, 4 hits on the open low E, followed by a C5 power chord, back to D5. So far we've done this. Now we'll play 8 times on the open low E string, followed by an A flat 5 power chord. The A flat 5 power chord will be played by barring on the bottom 2 strings on the 6th fret. So if we put this together, here's what we've done. Here's the 2-bar phrase of the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's the second 2-bar phrase of the verse. So this starts off with a D5 power chord. We'll play the open low E along with 5A, 7D, 4 hits on the open low E string, E flat 5 back to D5, 4 hits on the open low E, C5, 3 hits on the open low E. Now on the G string, we're going to pull off and then hammer on 7-5-7, pull off, hammer on 10-9-10, and then pull off, hammer on 14-12-14. And everything that we've done, which is a 4-bar phrase, will be played 2 times. Okay, so here's the 8 bars for guitar 1 during the verse. 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's try that a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now during the verse, there's a second guitar part which goes like this. So here we're going to start off open D string, 7th fret of the G string. 4 hits on the open D string, G string 8-7, 4 hits on the open D string, 5-7 on the G string. So far we've done this. Now we're going to follow this with 8 hits on the open low E string, followed by that A flat 5 power chord. From the beginning, it would sound like this. Now we're going to strike the open D string along with the 7th fret of the G string, open D 4 times, 8 to 7 on the G, 4 times on the open D string, 5th fret of the G string, open low E string 3 times. Now to the D string, we'll pull off and then hammer on 7, 5, 7, G string, pull off 7, 5, hammer on back to 7, and then G string, we'll pull off and hammer on 10, 9, 10. And let's play these 4 bars 2 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now coming out of the verse, there's going to be an instrumental riff which goes like this. So we're going to start with 6 hits on a D5 power chord. That'll be the bottom 2 strings open 6 times. Now we're going to play a C5 power chord 4 times. This will be played by barring on the bottom 2 strings on the 10th fret, followed by an A5 power chord 4 times, played by barring on the 7th fret of the bottom 2 strings. So far we've done this. Now we'll play that D5 power chord, bottom 2 strings open, a total of 5 times. Followed by 6 hits on the bottom low E string, and then a C-sharp 5 power chord, 4th fret A string, 6th fret D string. And if we put that all together, here's what we've done so far. And we'll play that 2 times. Let's try that together now, a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, how's everyone doing? So far, so good? You hanging in there with me? Now we're going to get into the chorus. We're going to get into the chorus by playing the main riff for 4 bars. We're going to play the first 4 bars of the song once again, which, just to refresh your memory, goes like this. And then the vocals will enter when we play a B-flat 5 chord. 1st fret A string, 3rd fret D string. Hold that for 1 bar. Move it up 2 frets, play a C5 chord for a bar. And then we're going to play this phrase. We've played this earlier, but let's just go over it once again. On the bottom 2 strings, open, 6, slide back to 5, followed by 3, open, 4, slide back to 3, followed by 1. 2 times on the bottom 2 strings, open, 2, slide up to 3, open 2 times, and then slide C5 back to B5. So the riff we just played goes like this. Now we're going to repeat everything we've done, but this time we're going to pick every single chord rather than playing with some slides. So we go to B flat 5, C 5. Now we're going to pick all of these chords. And now we're going to go back to B flat 5 followed by C 5. So up to this point, the two guitars have been playing the same part. Now they're going to split off, and one guitar will play this. Starting off with some octaves. 5th fret A string along with 7 on the G string, so that's a D note that we're playing. Remember, we're going to have to mute that middle string, so my first finger is just lightly touching the D string to prevent that from ringing out. So we'll have one bar with the D, move it up 3 frets to F, hold that for a bar, move it up to the 12th fret A string, 14th fret G string, so this is an A note, hold that for a bar, and then strike a D5 power chord, bottom 2 strings open 3 times. Now the second guitar will play this phrase. Starting off with some octaves, this guitar will play B, 2nd fret on the A string, 4th fret G string. Move it back 1 fret to B flat. Up to the 5th fret A string, 7th fret G string, that note is D. And now play the D5 power chord 3 times. So let's go back now and pick it up from where the vocals entered and play the chorus together. I'll play guitar 1 when I get to the ending there with the octaves. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Now we're going to take a look at the first solo. We'll learn this in small phrases and then piece it all together at the end. So here's the first phrase. So we're going to start by bending up a whole step from the 15th fret of the B string and then grabbing 12 on the high E string. Repeat those 2 notes 5 times. Now we're going to pull off from 16 to 12 on the high E, followed by 15B, 14G. 15B, 12 high E, now 17 high E, pull off to 12 on the high E. Following this, we'll play 15B, 14G, 15B, 12 high E, and the next 4 notes, 17 pull off to 12 on the high E, 15B, 14G. So here's what we've done so far. Here's the next phrase. This solo uses the A harmonic minor scale and starts off with a hammer-on and pull-off 12, 13, 12 on the high E string, followed by 15 on the B, 13 pull-off to 12 on the high E, 15, 13 on the B, 12 on the high E, 15 on the B, 13 pull-off to 12 on the B string, 14 on the G string. So far we've done this. Now we're going to shift positions 10 to 13 on the B string, 10 to 13 on the G string, 9, 12, 10, 9 on the D string. And here we're going to try and get a pinched harmonic on the 12th fret of the A string, and we're going to have a wide vibrato here. So here's that phrase once again. All right, so you ready for some sweep picking arpeggios? We're going to start off with A minor. I'm going to pick downwards on the 17th fret on the top 3 strings. Following this, I'll play on the 20th fret of the high E, pulling off to the 17th fret, back to 17 on the B string. That's an A minor arpeggio. Now I'm going to have the same picking pattern with an E major arpeggio. 16 G, 17 B, 16, 19, 16 high E. Following this, 17 on the B. So we've played A minor and E major. We'll play those 2 arpeggios 3 times. And then we'll have an extended A minor arpeggio, 19th fret on the A string, 19th fret on the D string, 17th fret, top 3 strings, and then strike the 20th fret of the high E string. And that's going to be staccato. Play that very short. And to get out of this lick, what we're going to do is we're simply going to descend with the left hand. I'm just going to mute the top 2 strings and tremolo pick with the right hand. It's just more of an effect than anything else. So you're not playing any fretted notes with the left hand. You're just going to descend with muted notes and let the right hand just kind of go for it, tremolo picking. And at the end of that, we're going to get a harmonic from the 5th fret of the G string and descend with a tremolo bar. So here's that lick once again, if we put it in context. Okay, so let's go back now and piece everything together for this first solo. Here we go. And there you have the first solo. Now we're going to take a look at the main solo. The main solo starts off in C minor before switching keys, but the phrase in C minor sounds like this. So we're going to start off on the note C, 17th fret of the G string. We'll play that 2 times. Before moving to the B string, 15, 16, 15. Back to the G string, 17, 15. To the B string, 18, 15. 17, 15 on the G string. So far we've done this. Now to the high E string, 18, 15. B string 18, 16, high E string 20, 18, 15. Play those 3 notes 2 times. Followed by 18, 16 on the B string, 15 on the high E string, 18, 16, 15 on the B. Now from the beginning, here's what we've done so far. Now we're going to go back to the note C, 17th fret of the G string, play that 2 times. 15, 16, 15 on the B string. 17, 15 on the G string. 18, 15 on the B string. 17, 15 on the G string. And And then we're going to have some string skipping arpeggios. Let's review what we've done so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now to the string skipping arpeggios. We're going to start off with G minor, and it's going to look like this. So I'm going to pull off from 18 to 15 on the high E string, pull off 19 to 15 on the G string, so skip over the B string, 17 on the D string, that's the root note G, hammer on 15, 19 on the G string, back to 15 on the high E string. So here's that G minor arpeggio once again. Now we're going to stay in this position and go through a D minor arpeggio, which will sound like this. So here we're going to start with the note D, 17th fret of the A string, followed by 15, 19 on the D string. On the B string now, 15, 18 pull off to 15. To the D string, 19 pull off to 15. So here's that D minor arpeggio once again. And let's try putting all of that together now. We'll do it really slow. I'll count you in. Try playing along with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at this point, we're going to modulate up 1/2 step and play everything that we've played up to this point, but we're just going to do everything 1 fret higher. So it'll sound like this. So let's run through those notes now. We'll start off 18th fret of the G string 2 times, 16, 17, 16 B, followed by 18, 16 G, 19, 16 B, 18, 16 G, 19, 16 on the high E, 19, 17 on the B, 21, 19, 16 on the high E string, play those 3 notes 2 times, 19, 17 on the B, 16 on the high E, 19, 17, 16 on the B. So far we've done this. Now back to the 18th fret of the G string 2 times, 16 B, 17, 16 B, 18, 16 G, 19, 16 B, 18, 16 G, and now the arpeggios. Starting off, we're going to go through a G sharp minor arpeggio, pull off 19 to 16 on the high E. Now I'm going to pull off from 20 to 16 on the G string, 18 on the D string, hammer on 16 to 20 on the G string, back to 16 on the high E string. Here's that arpeggio once again. Now we're going to play a D sharp minor arpeggio, 18 on the A string, 16, 20 on the D string, 16 on the B string, then we're going to pull off 19, 15 on the B string, and pull off 20, 16 on the D string. So here's how this idea in the key of C sharp minor sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to modulate up to the key of D minor. And this will be the final piece of the main solo. So here's how it sounds in D minor. So we're going to start off on the note D, 19th fret of the G string, play that 2 times. B string, 17, 18, 17. 19, 17, G. 20, 17, B, 19, 17, G. 20, 17 on the high E, 20, 18 on the B. Now 22, 20, 17, play those 3 notes 2 times on the high E string. 20, 18 on the B, 17 high E, 20, 18, 17 on the B. So far we've done this. Now 19 on the G string 2 times, 17, 18, 17 on the B, 19, 17, G, D string, 20, 19, 17 on the G, followed by 20 on the D, 19, 17 on the D, now to the A string, 20, 19, stay on the A string, 17, 19, 20, followed by 17 on the D string, 19 on the D, hammer on and pull off, 17, 19, 17 on the D. Final 3 notes, 20, 19, 17 on the A string. So here's that final phrase where we've modulated up to D minor once again. Let's play this slowly. I'll count you in, see if you can follow along. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's try it a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's the main solo, and that gives you all of the parts for 6-pounder. Have some fun with that one. Now we're going to learn Are You Dead Yet? This song has a drop C tuning. There's going to be 2 guitars that play the main opening riff, and here's guitar 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's break this down. The first measure starts off with this phrase. Open low E string 2 times, followed by the 5th fret of the A string. Back to the open low E, Hammer on 5 to 6 on the A string, followed by 5 on the A string. And that's the first measure. Second measure starts off 2 hits on the open low E, 5th fret A string, back to the open low E, and then 5 to 6 on the A string. So the second measure, once again. Third measure sounds like this. Here we're also going to start off with 2 hits on the open low E string, 5A back to the open low E, hammer on 5 to 6 on the A string. Now we'll play a B flat 5 chord by barring on the 3rd fret of the D string, 3rd fret of the G string, and then back to the 6th fret of the A string. So here's the third measure. The fourth measure starts off 5 to 6 on the A string, followed by an F5 chord. We're going to play 3 on the D, 5 on the G string. Back to the A string, 6, 5, 6. Play that B flat 5 chord once again, 3rd fret D string, 3rd fret G string, and then back to the 6th fret of the A string. So here's the fourth measure one more time. And let's put those 4 measures together, nice and slow. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next 2 measures, measures 5 and 6, are identical to measures 1 and 2. And here's measure 7. 2 hits on the open low E, 5th fret A string, open low E, hammer on 5 to 6 on the A string, 5th fret low E string followed by the open A string. Here's the 7th measure once again. And here's the 8th measure. First fret A string, D string open to the 3rd fret, open A string followed by the open D string, 3rd fret to the 2nd fret on the D string, back to the 3rd fret of the A string. And here's the 9th measure. So here we're going to play an F5 power chord, 3rd fret on the bottom 2 strings, D5 power chord, that'll be the bottom 2 strings open. Now some single notes, 2nd fret of the low E string 2 times, followed by the open low E string once. Now we're going to play a B flat 5 chord, followed by a C5 chord. This time the B flat 5 chord will be played 1st fret A string, 3rd fret D string. Move that shape up 2 frets to play C5. And there's the 9th measure. Now let's go back and put all 9 measures together. Try playing along with me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at this point of the song, the drums enter and there's a second guitar that comes in which plays a harmony to the first guitar part. So here's the harmony. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's break this down. Here's the first measure. 2 hits on the open low E string, D string 7, strike that again, this time hammering onto the 8th fret, and then back to the 7th fret on the D string. And that's the first measure. Second measure starts off 2 hits on the open low E string, D string 7, 7, 8. Third measure sounds like this. 2 hits on the open low E string, followed by 7 on the D, 7, 8 on the D, 7 G, back to 8 D. Put that together, goes like this. The fourth measure sounds like this. Seven to 8 on the D string, 8 on the B, back to the D string, 8, 7, 8, 10 G, 8 D. Here's the fourth measure once again. The next two measures, measures 5 and 6, are the same as measures 1 and 2. And here's the next measure, measure 7. Two hits on the open low E string, 7D, open low E, back to 7D, A string open to 10, followed by 7 on the D. And here's measure number 8. So we'll start off 8th fret D string, 7 to 10 on the G string, 7 on the D, 7 to 10 back to 9 on the G string, and then back to 10 on the D string. Here's measure 8 once again. And after this measure, we'll then be into the next part of the intro. So let's put all 8 of these measures together. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're into the second part of the intro. There's going to be 2 guitar parts to learn here as well. We're going to play a 4-bar phrase and repeat that 4-bar phrase. So here's how one of those rounds would go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's break this down. First measure, we'll start off with 2 hits on the open low E string, D5 power chord, 5th fret A string, 7th fret D string, back to the open low E, strike the D5 power chord, slide up 1 fret to E flat, and then back to D5. And that's the first measure. Second measure starts off with 2 hits on the open low E string, D5, open low E, and then D5 to E flat 5. So here's the second measure. Third measure sounds like this. 2 hits on the open low E string, followed by the D5 chord, open low E, A string 3 to 5, D string 3, back to 5 on the A string. Here's that measure once again. And the fourth measure starts off 3 to 5 on the A, 3D, 5A, Continuing on the A string, 3 to 5. Now 3D, back to 3 on the A string. So the fourth measure would sound like this. Now let's play that 4-measure phrase 2 times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's going to be a second guitar that plays along with this phrase that we've just learned. Here's how the second guitar goes. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first 2 measures of this 4-bar phrase are identical to the first 2 measures from the first guitar part that we learned. In the third measure, we're going to play this phrase. 2 hits on the open low E string, followed by a D5 chord. Back to the open low E, A string 7 to 8, D string 10, back to 8 on the A string. In the fourth measure of this phrase, 7 to 8 on the A string, 10 on the D string, back to 8 on the A string, 7 to 8 on the A string, 10D, 7A. So the fourth measure sounds like this. And we'll play this 4-bar phrase 2 times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to have a guitar break, and the break sounds like this. So let's break this down. We're going to start off by playing the open low E string 2 times, followed by 17B, 13 high E. Repeat those 4 notes 2 more times, followed by 17G, 13 high E, 17B, 13 high E. So far we've done this. Now we're going to go back to the open low E 2 times, 17B, 13 high E string, play those 4 notes a total of 3 times, now strike 17 on the B, slide back to 13 on the B, and now we're going to outline a C chord, 12 on the G string, 13B, 12 on the high E. So it's a D shape, but it's a C pitch. The pitch of this chord is C. And if we put all of those notes together, that gives us the break. So let's try that nice and slow. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this break happens 1 time, guitar only, and then 2 times with the band. So it's 3 rounds all together. So why don't we try 3 rounds together now? I'll count you in, try and play along with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now we're up to the verse. There's going to be 2 guitar parts to learn for the verse. Guitar 1 starts off like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to have a D5 power chord, bottom 2 strings open. We'll play that 2 times, an additional 2 times, an additional 2 times, followed by 3 times, 3 times again, and 3 times again. Okay, so far we've done this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to play a B flat 5 chord, 1st fret A string, 3rd fret D string. Play that 2 times, an additional 2 times, and 2 times again. Now we're going to slide into the 8th fret of the A string, followed by 10 D, 12 G. So it's an F add 9 arpeggio we're playing here. Now we're going to play 10 on the D, 12 on the G, 15 on the B. This will be a C add 9 arpeggio. Now we're going to play a G add 9 arpeggio. 12 on the G string, 15 on the B string, and then 17 on the high E string. You can give it a little tremolo bar at the end of that if you have a tremolo bar on your guitar. And then we're going to go back into the break, which, just to remind you, was this. But that is played with the full band. And now we're into the second half of the verse, which is going to be different from the first half. The second half of the verse sounds like this. So we'll start off with our D5 power chord 2 times, and again 2 times, and again 2 times. Now we're going to play the open low E string 5 times, an additional 5 times, and again 5 times. So far we've done this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we'll play that B flat 5 chord 2 times, and again 2 times, and again 2 times. Now 5 hits on the 1st fret of the A string, 5 hits on the 3rd fret of the A string, 5 hits on the 5th fret of the A string, 5 hits on the 7th fret of the A string, and we end with this phrase. That's F5, 3rd fret on the bottom 2 strings, followed by D5. That'll be the bottom 2 strings open. 2nd fret of the low E string 2 times, followed by the open low E. And then B flat 5 to C5. So once again, here's the second half of the verse. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to learn the second guitar for the verse. Now this is interesting because whereas guitar 1 started off on beat number 1, guitar 2 starts on beat number 2. So it runs counter to the first part. So let me play through the first phrase here. Here's guitar 2 during the verse. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to start on beat number 2, play a D5 power chord 2 times, On beat number 4, play that same D5 power chord 2 times. And now this joins the first guitar part. We'll play that D5 chord 3 times, and again, and again. Now on beat number 2, we're going to play a B flat add 9 chord. 1st fret A string, 3rd fret D string, 5th fret on the G string. Strike that 2 times, and again 2 times. So we'll play that on beat number 2 and beat number 4. 1. And now we're going to play some arpeggios which will be in harmony to the arpeggios that we learned when we were learning the first guitar part. Here's the first arpeggio. This is a B flat add 9. 13 on the A string, 15 D, 17 G, followed by F add 9, 15 on the D, 17 G, 20 on the B string, followed by a C add 9, 17 on the G string, 20 on the B string, 22 on the high E string. So let's go through what we've done so far together. I'll count you in, we'll play this nice and slow. Remember, we're going to start on beat number 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, while the first guitar plays the break at this point, the second guitar will play some power chords, starting with a D5 power chord, C5, and repeat D5 and C5. Now the verse continues, and once again, we're going to start off on beat number 2. We're going to play that D5 power chord 2 times, and again 2 times. This will be on beat number 4. And then we'll play the open low E string 5 times, and again 5 times, and again 5 times. Now on beat number 2, we'll play that B flat add 9 chord 2 times. And on beat number 4, play it again 2 times. Following this, we'll play the 1st fret of the A string 5 times, and again 5 times, and again 5 times, followed by the 3rd fret 5 times, and we end with the same phrase as guitar 1, which was this. F5 to D5, 2nd fret of the low E string 2 times, followed by the open low E string once, and then B flat 5 to C5. Okay, so let's pick it up from the second half of the verse. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to learn the interlude section. There's going to be 2 parts to learn. Guitar 1 sounds like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll start off 12th fret D string, play that 2 times, followed by 14G, 12D, then 12 on the D, 14G, and once again 12D, 14G. And that's the first measure. Next measure starts off 15 on the D 2 times, 17G back to 15D, 15 on the A 2 times, 17 on the D back to 15A. That measure once again. Measure number 3 starts off on the 13th fret of the D string, play that 2 times, followed by 15G back to 13D. And now we're going to play 13D, 15G. Once again, 13D, 15G. So here's measure number 3. Measure number 4, 13th fret of the A string 2 times. 15D back to 13 on the A. Now 13 to 10 on the A, so I have to shift positions, followed by 2 times on the 12th fret of the D string. So here's measure number 4. Now the next 3 measures, measures 5, 6, and 7, are the same as measures 1, 2, and 3. And measure number 8, slightly different, starts off with 2 hits on the 13th fret of the A string, 15 on the D back to 13A, 15 to 12 on the A string, 2 times on the 14th fret of the D string. Okay, let's put all that together. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as with many of these parts, there's going to be a second guitar during this interlude section. So here's how guitar 2 sounds. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the first 3 measures are played entirely on the D string. We'll start off with measure number 1, 2 hits on the 12th fret of the D string, followed by 15 to 12, 12, 15, 12, 15. And that's the first measure. Now shift positions. With the first finger, play 15 on the D. We'll play that 15th fret of the D string 2 times, and then play 19, 15. Now 14 on the D 2 times, followed by 17, 14. So there's the second measure. Measure number 3, we'll play 2 times on the 13th fret of the D, followed by 17 to 13. And then 13, 17, 13, 17. So here's measure number 3. Measure number 4 starts off 13 2 times on the A string, followed by 17, 13. Shift positions, 10 on the A, 12 on the D, and then slide from 15 back to 14 on the G string. So here's measure number 4. The next 3 measures, 5, 6, and 7, are the same as the first 3 measures. Measure number 8 starts off on the A string, 13th fret 2 times, 17, 13, A string 12, D string 14, and we'll end by sliding from 17 back to 16 on the G string. So here's the 8th measure. And let's play all 8 measures now. I'll count you in nice and slow. Try and play along with me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're into the chorus. The first guitar goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. A lot of power chords here. We'll start off with a bar of E flat 5. That's a bar on the bottom 2 strings, 1st fret. Next chord is an A5 chord, which we'll hold for a bar. Open A string, 2nd fret D string, followed by a bar of D5. The next bar will have F5 and C5. That's the 3rd fret on the bottom 2 strings, followed by the C5 chord, 3rd fret A string, 5th fret D string. Now we're going to repeat the first 3 bars, E flat 5, A5, followed by D5. Next measure, we're going to play this phrase where we scratch. So I'm just going to lightly touch the strings with my left hand to get this scratched, muted effect. And then I'm going to play an F5 chord, scratch, C5, followed by the 5th fret of the low E string. Then we're going to repeat all that, but on the repeat, the last measure will be slightly different. So rather than playing those scratched chords, the final measure on the repeat will simply be F5 to C5. So this is 8 measures played 2 times, with the last measure being slightly different. So here's the chorus. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, ball. Now we're going to take a look at the second guitar part during the chorus. We're going to have some single notes here. The first measure goes like this. Starting off on the D string, 13, 15, 14, 15. A string, 15. D string, 15, 14, 15. And that's the first measure. Second measure sounds like this. Starting on the D string, 12, 15, 14, 15. G string, 14, followed by 15, 14, 15 on the D string. Once again, the second measure. Third measure starts off 12, 15, 14, 15 on the D string. To the A string, 15, back to the D string, 15, 14, 15. So here's measure 3. Measure number 4 starts off on the D string, 12, 15, 14, 15. Now we're going to stretch up to the 17th fret of the G string, followed by 15, 14, 15 on the D string. So here's measure number 4. The next 3 measures, 5, 6, and 7, are identical to the first 3 measures. And measure number 8 sounds like this. So D string, 12, 15, 14, 15. 12G, followed by 15, 14, 15 D. Now we're going to repeat all 8 measures, but the final measure on the repeat will be slightly different. So here's the very last measure of the chorus. One note different. We'll start off 12, 15, 14, 15 on the D string. Grab 15 on the B string, followed by 15, 14, 15 on the D string. So let's put all of this in context. Here's the entire chorus, all 16 bars, guitar number 2. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so we've learned a lot of parts, but we haven't got to the solo up until now. So let's learn the solo in small phrases and then piece it all together. Here's the first small phrase. So the first part of this solo uses unison bends. While holding the 12th fret of the high E string, I'll strike the 15th fret of the B string, bend up a whole step, release the bend, back up a whole step. Now, while holding 15 on the high E, we'll bend up a whole step from the 18th fret of the B string, strike those 2 strings together, and then move back a half step. Now we're going to move up to the 17th fret of the high E string, and we'll strike the 20th fret of the B string, bend up a whole step, release the bend, back up a whole step. And now we're going to grab 20 on the high E string, and we'll bend up a whole step from the 23rd fret of the B string. It helps to have a 24 fret guitar for this lick. And we'll do that unison bend 2 times to end this first phrase. And if we put all of that together, here's what we've just done. Now here's the next phrase. Starting off on the high E string, 19th fret, followed by the 17th fret of the B string 2 times. Strike 19 on the high E, slide back to 17. 15 on the B, slide up to 17, followed by 19 on the high E string. So far we've done this. Now up to the 22nd fret on the high E string, followed by 2 hits on the 20th fret of the B string. 22 on the high E, slide back to 21. 2 hits on the 19th fret of the B string, back to 21 on the high E. And here's how it sounds if we put those notes together. And here's the next phrase. So for this fast picking lick, we're going to be playing in 16th notes, which means 4 notes for every 1 beat. These notes come from the A minor scale, and the first 4 notes are played on the high E string, 20, 17, 19, 20. Followed by 19, 17 on the high E, 20, 18 on the B. Next 4 notes are played on the B string, 17, 18, 20, 18. Followed by 17 on the B, 19, 17, 16 on the G. Next 4 notes, 17, 16 on the G, 19, 17 on the D. Followed by 15, 17, 19 on the D, 16 on the G. Next 4 notes, 17, 19 on the G, 17, 18 on the B. And then this section ends 20 on the B, 17, 19 on the high E. All right, so let's put these notes together. We're going to be playing 16th notes or 4 notes for every beat. Here's how it sounds nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, here's the next phrase of the solo. So this idea starts off with a pre-bend of a whole step from the 17th fret of the high E string. So bend up, strike that note, and then release the bend. Now I'm going to do the same idea, but this time I'm going to pinch the B string into the E string. So with the right hand, with the pick, I just kind of push the B string over into the E string. I'll bend up a whole step, strike those two strings together, and release the bend. It's kind of a crazy sound. Put those two licks together, it sounds like this. Now 15 on the high E, followed by 17 on the B string. And then with the right hand, with the first finger, I'm going to tap on the 22nd fret on the high E string. And if I put that together with the previous idea, it sounds like this. Now I'm going to play some F major triad arpeggios. Starting off, 17 pull off to 13 on the high E string, 13 B followed by 14 G. Now I'm going to play another inversion of this arpeggio, 20 pull off to 17 on the high E, 18 B, 17 G. So that F major arpeggio will sound like this. Now I'm going to play a D minor arpeggio, pull off 13 to 10 on the high E string, followed by 10 B, 10 G. Now shift positions, 17 pull off to 13 on the high E, 15 on the B string. Now I'm going to play 13 on the G string. So it starts off with a D minor arpeggio and then we end on the flatted fifth. So let's put that together now with the F major arpeggio. Here's the next phrase. So this lick starts off with some double stop ideas. We're going to bend up a half step from the 14th fret of the G and the B strings. Strike the 14th fret of those same two strings without the bend, followed by the 12th fret of those same two strings. And this lick will end 14 to 12 on the D string. So here's what we've done so far. And now repeat that. And here's the final piece of the solo. So this is all played on the G string. I'm going to pull off 14 to 12, slide back to 10. Now 14, pull off to 10, hammer on to 14. I'm going to do this. It's all going to be hammer-ons and pull-offs with the left hand because I'm going to be using the tremolo bar with the right hand. And notice I have the tremolo bar facing the opposite direction so that when I push on it, the pitch is going up. Now we're going to move that shape up, 17, 14, 17, 19, 17, 19, 21, 19, 21, and then a harmonic on the 24th fret of the G string, and we can descend with the tremolo bar. All right, well, there's all of the pieces for the solo. Why don't we go back now and try and put it all together? Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's the solo, and now you have all of the parts for Are You Dead Yet? Have some fun with that one. Now we're going to take a look at In Your Face. This song has a drop C tuning, and there's a 2-bar phrase that's played 8 times in the beginning of the song. And that 2-bar phrase goes like this. So let's break this down. This is played entirely on the low E string open. We'll strum that 4 times, 6 times, 2 times. And that's the first measure. Continuing, we'll play that open low E string 4 times, 2 times, 5 times. So the second measure would sound like this. And if we put those 2 measures together, here's how the phrase sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's try playing this 2-measure phrase 4 times together. I'll count you in, try playing along with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next part of the intro later becomes the chorus of the song and goes like this. So here we're going to be playing the same rhythm that we played for the first 2-bar phrase. We're going to start off by playing 4 times with a D5 power chord. So the bottom 2 strings open 4 times, followed by 3 times, and then 3 times on an A5 power chord. Open A string, 2nd fret on the D string. So far we've done this. Now play that A5 2 more times. So from the beginning, we've done this. And that will be our first measure. Second measure sounds like this. Starting off with a B flat 5 power chord, 1st fret A string, 3rd fret on the D string. Play that 4 times. 1 more time. Now down to an F5 power chord, so bar on the 3rd fret on the bottom 2 strings. Play that once. 3 more times. Move it back 1 fret to play an E5 chord 2 times. So we've done 2 measures so far. Let's put those 2 measures together. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next measure is the same as the first measure, so measure 3 is identical to measure 1. And the final measure of this phrase goes like this. So the B flat 5 chord is played 4 times, 2 more times, and then E flat 5 once. That E flat 5 is played by barring on the 1st fret on the bottom 2 strings. So let's play these 4 measures together now. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that riff later becomes the chorus of the song. Now, as in many Children of Bodom songs, there are 2 guitar parts. The second guitar underneath this part that we just learned plays this. 1, 2, 3, 4. First measure, we'll have a D5 chord and an A5 chord. Second measure, B flat 5 and C5. Third measure, D5 and A5. And the fourth measure, we'll have B flat 5, and then we'll play an E flat 5 chord and break. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're into the main riff of the song. Here's the first 2 bars of the main riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting off on the low E string, 6 to 3, 5 to 0. Now 6 to 3, 2 times on the 5th fret, 2 times open. So far we've done this. Now low E string, 6, 3, 5, 2. Now slide back from 6 to 5. And now we're going to play a diminished arpeggio. 2 to 5 on the A string, 3 to 6 on the D string, 4 to 7 on the G string. So here's what we've done so far. Continuing onwards, here's the next measure. So 6, 3, 5 to the open low E string. Now 6 to 3 and then slide up to 10 and play the 10th fret 2 times. Followed by the open low E string 2 times. So here's the measure we've just gone over. The next measure, which is the 4th measure, goes like this. So on the low E string, 6, 3, 5, 2. Bottom 2 strings open 2 times. Now a C5 chord we'll play 6 times. 3rd fret on the A string, 5th fret on the D string. So let's go back now and play these 4 measures together. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next 4 measures, very similar, but we're going to start off by playing on the bottom 2 strings. So we're going to be playing some power chords. So we're going to start off 6th fret on the bottom 2 strings, 3rd fret, 5th fret, open. So everything will be played on the bottom 2 strings until I say otherwise. So here's what we've just gone over. Now 6, 3, 5, 5, 0, 0. So far we've done this. Now 6, 3, 5, 2. And now we're going to play our diminished arpeggio once again. So slide from 6 back to 5 on the low E string, 2, 5 on the A, 3 to 6 on the D, 4 to 7 on the G. Now back to the bottom 2 strings, 6, 3, 5, 0. Now 6, 3, slide up to 10, play 10 2 times, followed by the open 2 strings 2 times. Now 6, 3, 5, 2. And this phrase ends with a harmonic found on the 3rd fret of the G string. And if you have a tremolo bar, you can try and play that harmonic with the tremolo bar. So let's go back now and put these second 4 bars together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, following the main riff, we'll be into the verse of the song. But before we get to the verse, I want to talk briefly about the second guitar during the main riff. The second guitar is identical to the first guitar, with the exception of that diminished 7 arpeggio. The first guitar played this for the arpeggio. The second guitar will harmonize. So the second guitar slides from 6 back to 5 on the low E string, and now the harmony begins. 5 to 8 on the A, 6 to 9 on the D, 7 to 10 on the G string. So let's put this in context. Here's guitar 2 during the main riff. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there you have both guitars for the main riff. Now we're going to take a look at the verse. I'll play through the first phrase of the verse and then we'll break it down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was the first 2 bars. We're going to start off 5th fret on the A string, followed by 3 hits on the open low E string. Now 3 hits on the open low E, followed by 5 on the A string. 3 hits on the open low E, 5 pull off to 3, back to 5 on the A string. That's the first measure. Now we're going to continue. 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E, 3 hits on the open low E, now 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E. Now we're going to play F5 to E5. For the F5 chord, we're going to bar on the bottom 3 strings on the 3rd fret and add the 5th fret of the G string. And move this back 1 fret to play E5. So here are those 2 measures once again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the next measure. So here we're going to play 5 on the A string, open low E 3 times, open low E 3 times, 5 on the A, 3 times on the open low E. And now we're going to play 1st fret on the A string, pull off to the open A, back to the 1st fret on the A string. Next measure, we'll move up to the 7th fret of the D string, followed by 3 hits on the open A string, 3 more hits on the open A, then 7 on the D, 3 hits on the open A, and now 5, pull off to 4, back to 5 on the G string. So let's put these 2 measures together. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next measure, which is the 5th measure of the verse, is the same as the first measure. Measure number 6 is slightly different. It sounds like this. So here we're going to start off 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E. Now 5 hits on the open low E. Now we're going to descend with some major thirds. 4th fret on the A string, 3rd fret on the D string. Move that back 1 fret, move it back 1 more fret. So that measure, once again, would sound like this. Now we're up to measure 7. Starts off 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E, 3 hits on the open low E, 5A, 3 hits on the open low E. Now 1st fret of the A, pull off to the open A, back to the 1st fret of the A string. So that measure, once again. And here's measure number 8, the final measure. 7th fret on the D string, open A 3 times, open A 3 more times, 7 on the D, 3 hits on the open A, final 3 notes, 5 pull off to 4 on the G string, followed by 7 on the A string. Okay, so let's put all 8 measures together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now let's take a look at the second guitar during the verse. We're going to play a little harmony towards the end of each measure. So here's the first measure. 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E, 3 hits on the open low E, 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E. Now pull off 8 to 7, back to 8 on the A string. Next measure, 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E, 3 hits on the open low E, 5 on the A, back to 3 hits on the open low E. Now we're going to play 8th fret on the A along with 7 on the D, and then move that back 1 fret to play 7 on the A, 6 on the D. So that measure. Third measure starts off 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E, 3 hits on the open low E, back to 5A, 3 hits on the open low E. Now we're going to pull off 4 to 3 on the A, back to 4 on the A. So here's measure 3. Measure 4 starts off 7 on the D, 3 hits on the open A, 3 hits on the open A, 10 on the D string, 3 hits on the open A. Pull off 14, 12, back to 14 on the D string. So here's measure 4. Measure 5 is the same as measure 1. Measure number 6 starts off 5 on the A, 3 hits on the open low E, followed by 5 hits on the open low E. And now we're going to have this major third idea where we're playing 4 on the A, 3 on the D string, and then move that back 1 fret. So we're playing 3 on the A, 2 on the D, and then moving that back 1 more fret, 2 on the A, 1 on the D string. So measure number 6 will sound like this. All right, you hanging in there with me? 2 more measures to go. Now we're going to start off 5 on the A string, followed by 3 hits on the open low E, 3 hits on the open low E, back to 5A, 3 hits on the open low E, and then 4, pull off to 3, back to 4 on the A string. So that's measure 7. And the final measure, 7 on the D string, followed by 3 hits on the open A string, 3 more hits on the open A string, followed by 10 on the D string, 3 hits on the open A, and then finally we're going to end 14, pull off to 12, back to 14 on the D string. All right, if we put all 8 measures together, that gives us guitar 2 during the verse. So let's try that now. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so how's everyone doing so far? You hanging in there with me? I know it's a lot of notes. Got a little ways to go, though. Now we're into the pre-chorus. There's going to be 2 guitar parts to learn for the pre-chorus. The first section with the first guitar starts off like this. Starting off on the A string, 1st fret 2 times, 3rd fret back to the 1st fret, 5th fret to the 1st fret, 1st fret on the A string once again, followed by the open D string, 1st fret of the A string, followed by the 2nd fret of the D string, 1st fret of the A, followed by the 3rd fret of the D string, back to the 1st fret of the A string. So here's what we've done so far. Next phrase starts off open low E string, 5th fret on the A string, open low E, 7A, open low E, 8th fret A string, open low E 3 times. Now 8th fret on the A, followed by the open low E, 5 on the D, open low E, 8, 7, 5 on the A string. So the second measure sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Third measure, same as the first measure. Fourth measure starts off open low E string, 5th fret on the A string, open low E, 7th fret on the D, open low E, 8th fret of the A string, 3 hits on the open low E. Now hammer on 3 to 5 on the low E, followed by the open A string, B flat 5 to A5. So here's measure number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to repeat all of that, but rather than ending with B flat 5 to A5, we're going to end with this phrase, which is 1st fret pulling off to the open A string, 6 on the low E, open A. So the last measure will sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's put all 8 measures together. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, guess what? That's right, there's a harmony to the pre-chorus. Here's the first measure of the harmony. So we're going to start off on the A string, 5, 5, 7, 5, 8, 5, 5, 8, 5, D string 5, A string 5, D string 7, A string 5. Here's what we've done so far. For the second measure, we're going to shift positions. We'll play the open low E string, followed by 8 on the A string, open low E, 10 on the A, open low E, 12 on the A, open low E 3 times. Now 12 on the A, followed by the open low E, 8 on the D string, followed by the open low E, and then 12, 10, 8 on the A string. Put all that together. The third measure is the same as the first measure. For the fourth measure, we'll start off with the open low E string, and then 8 on the A, open low E, 10 on the A, open low E, 12 on the A, open low E 3 times. Now hammer on 3 to 5 on the low E string, open A string, B flat 5 to A5. So here's the fourth measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to repeat these 4 bars, but rather than ending with B flat 5 to A5, we're going to end by playing the same phrase that the first guitar played, which was a pull-off from the first fret to the open A string, followed by the 6th fret on the low E string, open A string. So the final bar with guitar 2 will sound like this. And now let's put all 8 bars together. I'll count you in nice and slow. Try playing along with me. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the solo, which starts off in E flat with this phrase. So now we're going to start off with a unison bend while holding 11 on the high E string. We'll bend a whole step from 14 on the B string. So we'll strike those 2 strings at the same time and do that unison bend twice. Now to the D string, 11 to 13, 10 to 13, to the G string, 11, 13, B string, 11 to 13, high E string, 11 to 14. So far we've done this. Now the solo continues the same way it began with that unison bend 2 times. And now we're going to play this phrase. So we're going to have a scratch, followed by a slide from a D7 chord into an E flat 7 chord. So what I'm doing here is holding 12 on the A, 10 on the D, 11 on the G, striking that once and then sliding it up 1 fret. So with the scratch that came just before it, the phrase would sound like this. Repeat that. Now we're going to have 1 more scratch, and then I'm going to play 14 on the top 2 strings, 11 on the G string, and then slide downwards. All right, so here's what we've done so far. Now let's take a look at the next phrase of the solo. It goes like this. So we'll start off with a half step bend from the 14th fret of the high E string back to 11 on the high E string, followed by 14-12 on the B string, Shift positions, bend up a half step from the 16th fret of the high E, followed by 14 on the high E, 16, 14 on the B string. So far we've done this. And repeat all of that once again. Now we're going to have an 8-note phrase, which is played 3 times. We'll start off on the high E string, 18 to 16, 19, 16 on the B, 21, 16 on the high E, 19, 16 on the B. Here's those 8 notes. And we'll play that 3 times. And here's the next phrase. So here we're going to start off on the 20th fret of the G string. You can use the tremolo bar there if you have one. And then we'll pull off 20 to 17 on the G string. Now a pre-bend of a step and a half from the 20th fret of the B string. So bend up, strike that note, release the bend. Pull off to the 18th fret, followed by 19 on the G. So far we've done this. Now bend up a whole step from the 20th fret of the high E string. Now we're going to do a pre-bend from the 20th fret of the high E string. We'll do that 3 times, and then on the 3rd time, we're going to release the bend and bend back upwards, hammering on to the 23rd fret of the high E string. So if we put that in context, here's what we've just gone over. Now we're going to shift positions. On the high E string, we're going to play 13, 10, 12, 13, 12, 10. On the B string, 13, 12, 10, 2 times. So far we've done this. Now on the B string, 13, 10, 12, 13, 12, 10. To the G string, 13, 12, 10. Play those 3 notes 2 times. So far we've done this. And now the final lick of the solo is an ascending pattern on the high E string, and we're going to use the tremolo bar here as well. So we're going to start off 10, 8, 10 on the high E. And we're going to hammer on and pull off whenever possible. Following 10, 8, 10, we'll move up, play 12, 10, 12, 13, 12, 13, 15, 13, 15, 17, 15, 17, 20, 17, 20, followed by 22 on the high E. So let's go back now and try and put all of these pieces together, and here's the entire solo. 1, 2, 3, and... All right, so we just got through the solo. Now after the solo, we're going to go back into the main riff, and when we play the main riff this time around, there's a really cool sweep diminished arpeggio I'd like to take a look at, and that'll be the final thing that we look at for this song. Here's how that arpeggio sounds. So let's take a look at that. We're going to start off the same way we started off the main riff earlier on the low E string, 6-3, 5-0, 6-3. This time around we're going to play 5 on the low E string 3 times, followed by 3 hits on the open low E. So there's the first measure of the main riff this time around. Now we're going to play 6-3-5-2, open low E string, and here comes that diminished arpeggio. 8 on the A string, 6 on the D, 4 to 7 on the G string, 6 on the B, hammer on a pull off, 4-7-4 on the high E string, back to 6 on the B string. So once again in context, goes like this. 1, 2, 3, and. Now following that diminished arpeggio, we're going to go back to the first part of the riff, 6-3 on the low E string, 5-0. Now we'll play 6-3 on the low E and slide up to the 10th fret, play that 3 times, and then the open low E 3 times. So that measure. And we'll end this by playing 6-3-5-2, D5 power chord 2 times, C5 6 times. So this is when we get into the main riff out of the solo. So let's play all 4 measures now. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so there you have all of the parts for In Your Face. So have some fun with that. Now we're going to learn Hate Crew Death Roll. This is the one song that has what we can call a standard tuning to it, but we're going to be tuned down a whole step. So we're not going to have the drop C tuning for this song. Standard tuning, but everything is tuned down a whole step. If that sounds confusing, just go check out the tuning section of the DVD and I think you'll get it. So here's the first riff. So I just played 8 bars. We're going to repeat those 8 bars. We're going to start off with this riff. And that's the first measure. So I'm going to start off with a D5 power chord, 5th fret on the A string, 7th fret on the D string, slide up a whole step to E5, slide back down to D5, back up to E5. Now strike the bottom low E string open 4 times. And we can refer to this as our main phrase. We're going to play this 3 times. Before playing an A5 power chord 4 times, 5th fret low E string, 7th fret on the A string. And now move up to a C5 power chord, 8th fret low E string, 10th fret A string, play that 4 times. So here's what we've done so far. Now we're going to go back to the main phrase 3 times. Before playing an E5 power chord 4 times. And then an octave shape with the note D, 5th fret of the A string, 7th fret of the G string, play that 4 times. So we're going to have to mute the D string, and we'll do that by lightly touching it with the first finger of the left hand. And that'll give us the first 8 bars. So let's go ahead and play that 2 times through. So here's guitar 1 during the intro. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to take a look at the second guitar during the intro. It's going to be slightly different. Here's the first 4-bar phrase. So we're going to start off with that main phrase 3 times. Now we'll play an A5 power chord 4 times, open A string, 2nd fret D string, C5 4 times, 3rd fret on the A string, 5th fret on the D string. And that'll give us the first 4 bars. The second 4 bars sound like this. A little bit different. So we start with that main phrase 2 times. Now we're going to play a G5 power chord, 10th fret on the A string, 12th fret on the D string, slide back 3 frets to an E5, back 2 more frets to D5, and then back up 2 frets to E5. Now 4 hits on the open low E string. And the final measure of this phrase goes like this. We'll play an E5 power chord 4 times, and then octaves with B flat, 6th fret of the low E string, 8th fret of the D string, strum that octave shape 4 times. So we have to mute the A string. So here's the second 4-bar phrase for guitar number 2. The third 4-bar phrase is the same as the first 4-bar phrase. The fourth 4-bar phrase starts off with that main riff 3 times. Followed by E5 4 times. And then the B flat octave shape 4 times. Okay, so now let's play guitar 2 during the intro. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. Now we're going to take a look at the verse. The verse is identical to guitar number 1 during the intro. The only difference is the last measure of each of these 8-bar rounds. So I'll play through one of these 8-bar rounds and I think you'll hear what I mean. It goes like this. So during the last measure that I just played, we're going to play the bottom low E string 3 times, followed by a D5 power chord 3 times. And that's the only difference from the intro. And we're going to play that entire 8-bar phrase 2 times. So let's try that together now. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. Following the verse, we'll then be into the B section. There's going to be 2 guitar parts to learn. The first guitar part goes like this. Starting off on the low E string, first fret pulling off to the open string. Strike the open low E 2 times. Once again, pull off from the first fret to the open string. And now pull off from the 4th fret to the open string. So far we've done this. And do that 3 times. Now we're going to play an E minor chord, and we'll strum this 3 times. That E minor chord is played by barring, starting from the A string on the 7th fret, then playing on the 9th fret of the D, 9th fret of the G, 8th fret of the B string, and then we have the bar on the 7th fret of the high E string. Strum that chord 3 times, followed by a B minor bar chord, which we will also strum 3 times. So here I'm barring on the 7th fret, all 6 strings, and then playing on the A string, 9th fret, D string, 9th fret. So here's what we've done so far. Now we're going to repeat the first 3 measures. Now we're going to play an E5 chord 4 times. Move it back 1 fret, play an E flat 5 chord 3 times. So far we've done 8 bars, and we're going to repeat those 8 bars. So let's try that all together. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. Now there's a second guitar that goes along with this. Here's the first 4 bars of guitar number 2. So here we're going to start with a pull-off from the 3rd fret to the 2nd fret on the A string. Strike the 2nd fret once again. Pull off from 3 to 2. Pull off from 6 to 2. So far we've done this. And we'll play that 3 times. Then we'll play an E5 chord 4 times, so 7th fret A string, 9th fret D string, followed by a B5 chord, 7th fret E string, 9th fret A string. Play this 4 times. So here's what we've done so far. Now we're going to go back to that first riff, play it 3 times. This time around we're going to play E5 4 times, followed by E flat 5 4 times. So those 4 bars together would sound like this. Now we're going to repeat the first 4-bar phrase. And the final 4-bar phrase goes like this. So we start off with that main riff. We'll play that 3 times. And now we're going to end by playing 4 times with an E minor chord. And move this back 1 fret, play E flat minor 4 times. So here's the final 4-bar phrase. And now let's put that all together. So here's guitar 2 for the B section. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and. Now we're going to take a look at the interlude section. This is a 4-bar phrase that happens 2 times, and here's one of those 4-bar phrases. So we're starting off 2 hits on the open low E string, followed by an F5 power chord, 8th fret on the A string, 10th fret on the D string. Back to 2 hits on the open low E. Move this F5 chord up 2 frets to play G5. Now play an E5 power chord, open low E string, 2nd fret A string. And then we'll have this rhythm on the open low E string, which is 2 hits, 3 hits, 2 hits. Here's what we've done so far. Now we continue the same way we began. 2 hits on the open low E string, followed by the F5 chord. 2 hits on the open low E, followed by G5. And now we're going to play an arpeggio, starting with B minor, which is 14 on the A, 12 D, 11 G, 12 on the B string. After this arpeggio, we'll play a G6 arpeggio, which is 10 on the A string, 9 on the D, 7 on the G string, and then 9 on the G string. So those 2 arpeggios together sound like this. Okay, so now let's play this 4-bar phrase 2 times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now let's take a look at guitar 2 for this interlude section. It's identical to guitar 1, but the arpeggio will be harmonized. So here's that arpeggio. We'll start off 7 on the A, followed by 10 on the A, 9 on the D, 9 on the G. That's an E minor arpeggio. Immediately following this, we're going to play 7 to 10 on the A string, 9 to 10 on the D string. We can call that arpeggio E minor add sharp 5. So let's play these 4 bars 2 times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. To get out of this interlude section, there's going to be a break, and the break goes like this. We'll play an E power chord 1 time, followed by a harmonic on the 5th fret of the high E string. So to get that harmonic, you just place your finger directly above the 5th fret of the high E. We're not going to press down, just lightly touch that, and that gives you that harmonic effect. Then we'll strike the high E string open 3 times, back to the harmonic on the 5th fret, high E string open 3 times. Now we'll play the harmonic on the 5th fret, followed by the high E string open 4 times. So here's what we've just gone over. And let's put this in context with the interlude section that came just previous to this section. So I'll play all 8 bars of that interlude section and then into the break. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we'll take a look at the pre-chorus. This is the part of the song that happens just before the chorus. There's going to be four-bar phrases to learn. Here's the first of those 4-bar phrases. So here we're going to start off with an F5 power chord, first fret on the low E string, third fret on the A string, then I'm going to pull off to the open low E string with my first finger. Strike the open low E 2 more times, back to F5, move that up 3 frets to a G sharp 5 chord. So far we've done this. Now we're going to repeat that 3 times. Followed by 4 hits on an E minor chord, 4 hits on a B minor chord. So a little faster in context, here's what we've done so far. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next 4-bar phrase is identical, but in the final measure we'll play E minor 4 times, followed by E flat minor 4 times. So here's the second 4-bar phrase. The next 4-bar phrase is identical, but in the final measure we'll play E5 4 times, followed by B5 4 times. So the third 4-bar phrase would sound like this. And the final 4-bar phrase is the same as the second 4-bar phrase, where we play E minor followed by E flat minor in that 4th measure. So now let's put all of that together. Here's the pre-chorus. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're into the chorus. There's going to be 2 parts to learn. The first part, where we're just going to play some chords, starts off like this. In the first measure, we're going to play C5. Second measure, we'll play C5 and D5, which takes us up to E5, which we'll play for 2 measures. So this is the first 4 measures now. The next 4 measures will be 2 measures of C5, 2 measures of E5. Following this, we'll have 2 measures of a G5 chord, 2 measures of B5, 1 measure of C5, 1 measure of D5, 2 measures of E5. So let's put all of that together now. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now on top of all of those chords, there's going to be a single note line, which starts off with this phrase. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So here we're going to start off 12 on the G string, 13 on the B, 12, 15, 14 on the high E, 12 on the G, 13 B, 14 on the high E. So far we've done this. Now 12 on the high E, 12 G, 13 B, 12 to 14 on the high E. Now we're going to shift positions, outlining a D major triad, 14 on the G, 15 on the B string, 14 on the high E. Here's what we've done so far. Now we're going to stay on the high E string, 15, 14, back to 12, 14 to 12, 15 on the B, bend up 15 a whole step and then release the bend, followed by 12, 15, 12, and then 14 on the G string. And everything that we've played, we're going to do 2 times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's the next phrase. Starting off, we're going to outline a G major triad, 7 on the G string, 8 on the B string, 7 on the high E string. 10 to 9 on the high E. Back to 7G, 8B, 9, 7 on the high E. So far we've done this. Now 7 on the G, 8 on the B, 7 to 9 on the high E. Shift positions, 9G, 10B, 9 on the high E. So far we've done this. Next phrase, very similar, goes like this. For the next phrase, we're going to shift positions once again, and the phrase sounds like this. So we're starting off by outlining a C major arpeggio, 12G, 13B, 12 on the high E, 15, 14 on the high E, 12G, 13B, now 14 on the high E, slide up to 17, pull off to 14, followed by 15B, back to 14 on the high E, pull off 17 to 14 on the high E, and now pull off 19 to 14 on the high E. So once again, here's the phrase that we've just learned. And here's the final phrase of the chorus. So this phrase starts off by outlining an E minor arpeggio, 12G, 12B, 12 on the high E, 15, 14, 12 on the high E, 15 on the B, strike 15 once again, bend up a whole step, release the bend, followed by 12 on the B, 15, 12 on the B, 14 on the G, and then we can strike the 5th fret of the G string with a harmonic, and then dive downwards with a tremolo bar. So let's put all of that together now. Here is the chorus with that second guitar. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and... Now we're going to take a look at the solo. What we'll do is we'll learn this in small phrases and then put it all together at the end. So here's the first phrase. So I'm going to start off by holding the 15th fret of the B string along with 14 of the G and then bend upwards a whole step from the 14th fret of the G string, and then I'm going to strike the tremolo bar as well to get some vibrato. So the phrase sounds like this. Now slide into the 13th fret of the G string. Now from the 17th fret of the high E string, we'll do a pre-bend of a whole step, strike the note, release the bend, and then once we get back to the 17th fret, we can bend up just slightly, roughly a quarter step before grabbing 15 on the high E. It sounds like this. The next phrase is a diminished arpeggio, which goes like this. So here we're going to descend a diminished 7 arpeggio, and we're going to do this in a group of 3. So the first 3 notes are 18 pull off to 15 on the high E string, 17 on the B string. Next 3 notes, 15 on the high E, 17 pull off to 14 on the B. Next 3 notes, 17 pull off to 14 on the B, followed by 15 on the G. Next 3 notes, 14 on the B, 15 pull off to 12 on the G string. Next 3 notes, 15 pull off to 12 on the G, followed by 14 on the D. Next 3 notes, 12 on the G, 14 pull off to 11 on the D string. And the next 3 notes, 14 pull off to 11 on the D string, followed by 13 on the A string. And the next 3 notes, which end this phrase, 11 on the D string, 13 pull off to 10 on the A string. So here's this arpeggio once again. And here's the next phrase. Starting on the low E string, slide 11 to 12, 13 to 16 on the A string. Now with the first finger, hammer on from 13 to 14 with the middle finger on the A string, followed by 14 on the D string, 15 to 14 on the G string, and back to the D string, 14, 15, 13, 12. So here's that phrase once again. Here's the next phrase. So here we're going to slide into the 17th fret of the high E string. After sliding, we're going to play it an additional 4 times and then slide back to the 16th fret. And after sliding to the 16th fret, play that 2 times. Now we're going to slide into the 22nd fret of the high E string. After sliding, we'll play that an additional 3 times before sliding back to the 21st fret, and we'll slide to the 21st fret and then strike that an additional time. Sounds like this. Now we're going to stay on the high E string, 15 to 12, 14, 15, slide up to 17, 14, 15, 17, 19, 15, 17, 19, pull off 17, 15, followed by 17 on the B string. So here's that run if we put those notes together. The next phrase uses the E minor pentatonic scale and goes like this. So the first four notes, 15 pull off to 12 on the E, 15 pull off to 12 on the B. Next four notes, 12 on the high E, 15 pull off to 12 on the B, 14 on the G. Next four notes, 15 pull off to 12 on the B, 14 pull off to 12 on the G. And the last three notes of this lick, 12 on the B, 14 pull off to 12 on the G. Here's what we've just done. The next lick will ascend the E minor pentatonic scale on the B string, and we're going to use the tremolo bar while moving up the scale. It sounds like this. Now, because we're using the tremolo bar, we're going to try and hammer on and pull off and slide whenever possible. The first three notes, 5, 3, 5 on the B string, followed by 8, 5, 8, 10, 8, 10, 12, 10, 12, 15, 12, 15, 17, 15, 17, 20, 17, 20, 22, 20, 22, and then finally we'll end by bending a whole step from the 22nd fret of the B string, grab 22 on the high E string with the little finger, and then as we're holding that bend from the 22nd fret of the B string, we'll strike that note once again and then use the tremolo bar. So here's the whole lick once again. The next phrase uses some two-handed tapping and goes like this. So here we're going to start off holding the 15th fret of the B string, and while holding that note, we'll bend a whole step from the 14th fret of the G string. So this phrase starts off by holding the 15th fret of the B string, and we'll bend 14 on the G up a whole step while holding the 15 on the B string. Now we'll bend a whole step from the 15th fret of the B string, hammer on to the 20th fret of the B string with the right hand, and then while holding that bend with the left hand, we'll then hammer on to the 18th fret of the B string. Put that together, here's what we've just done. This next lick uses a combination of sweep picking and two-hand tapping. It sounds like this. So starting off, 7 on the G, 8 on the B, hammer on 7 to 10 on the high E string. Now I'm going to tap 15 on the high E string, pulling off to the 10th fret of the high E string. Once again, hammer on 15, pull off to 10. This time, hammer on from 7 to 10. So far we've done this. Now move the right hand down to the 14th fret. We're going to play 14, 10, 14, 10, 7, 10. So far we've done this. Now the right hand moves down to the 12th fret. We'll play 12, 10, 12, 10, 7, 10. And repeat that, 12, 10, 12, 10, 7, 10. Okay, so let's put all that together now. Now the next lick is a big sweep-picked E minor arpeggio. Sounds like this. So here we're going to slide into the 15th fret of the low E string, followed by 14 on the A, 19 on the A, 17 on the D, 16 G, 17 B, 15 to 19 on the high E string, and then I'm going to hammer onto the 24th fret on the high E string, and then we'll pull off 19, 15, followed by 17 on the B. Once again. The final lick also uses two-handed tapping and goes like this. Now because we're hammering on with the right hand, with the left hand we're just going to hammer on and pull off whenever possible. Starting off, we're going to hammer onto the 20th fret of the high E string. Following this, we'll play 19 on the high E, and then hammer on back to 20, followed by 19, 17, 15. So here are those 6 notes. Now we're going to do the exact same phrase on the B string. And play everything that we've done 2 times. Now we're going to shift positions, and here's the next phrase. So here we're also going to have 6-note phrases, 17 with the right hand. We'll hammer on, followed by 15, and then 17, 15, 13, 12. Now with the right hand, we'll move it up to the 20th fret, and the left hand will do the same thing. So that was 20, 15, 20, 15, 13, 12. So for this lick, we have 2 6-note phrases so far, which sound like this. And we'll play that phrase 2 times. Now we're going to shift positions once again. The next idea starts off hammering on to 16 on the G string, followed by 14, and then 16, 14, 12, 11. Now we're going to move the right hand from the 16th fret to the 19th fret of the G string. Left hand will do the same lick. So 19, 14, 19, 14, 12, 11. And we'll play that phrase 2 times. And that's it. So let's play that final 2-handed hammer-on lick once again. So there's all of the licks for the solo. Why don't we go back now and try and put all of this together. So check it out. Here's the entire solo. 1, 2, 3, and... All right, so that's the solo for Hate Crew Death Roll, and now you have all of the parts. So, as always, have some fun with that one. In this section of the DVD, I'd like to talk a little bit about the tuning. Very important if you want to play along with these records or if you want to play along with these lessons, that you have the correct tuning on the guitar. Now, Children of Bodom uses predominantly what is called a drop C tuning. You may have heard of drop D. That's where the low E string is dropped down a whole step so that the pitch is D. So what we're going to do for drop C tuning is tune the entire guitar down a whole step and then the 6th string down an additional whole step so that the pitch of the low E string is C. that all breaks down to this. Your low E string, the 6th string, should sound like this. And if you're using a tuner, the pitch of that note is C. The 5th string should sound like this. And the pitch of that note is G. Here's the 4th string. The pitch of this note is C. Here's the 3rd string. The pitch of this note is F. Here's the 2nd string. And the pitch of this note is A. And here's the 1st string. The pitch of this note is D. So the one song on this DVD where we're not going to have that drop C tuning is Hate Crew Death Roll. And for this song, we're simply going to have the guitar tuned down a whole step. So we'll have normal tuning, but down a whole step. So here's the 6th string. And that pitch is D. Here's the 5th string. The pitch of this string is G. Here's the 4th string. The pitch is C. Here's the 3rd string. The pitch is F. Here's the 2nd string. The pitch is A. And here's the 1st string. And the pitch of this string is D. All right, well, there's the tuning for all of the songs on this DVD. All right, well, here we are at the end of the DVD. If you made it through all of these songs, congratulations. I know that's a lot of hard work. A lot of licks in these songs, a lot of parts in these songs. So if you can get through these, you're in good shape. Now, one thing that I would recommend is when going through these songs, I always think that it's better to learn one piece really well rather than learning a lot of pieces not so well. So if you learn a verse section and you can really play that, that's great. And then you can move on and master the next piece of the song. If you're learning the solos for these songs, not only can you get benefit from learning the solos and being able to play these the same way that Alexi plays these, but also try and take some of these ideas and incorporate them into your own playing, whether it's a technique thing or a sweep arpeggio or just a small lick. So try and take some of these ideas and use them to your advantage in your own playing. All right, well, it's been fun teaching these songs to you. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks for watching.